The search for the perfect blazer might come to an end today because we reviewed 3 or 4 other blazers and they just seem to get worse and worse as we cut them in half. And part of the reason why it might come to an end today is because this is not even made by Nike. This is made by a US brand that's a really small team called Opie Way, and they charge $500 for this thing. So we're gonna cut it in half, run it through our test to really see if they're worth 5 times the price of regular blazers, which is the better value, which is better overall, and finally answer, is this the perfect blazer? So who is Opie Way? Well, like I said, it's a very small US-based team of 5 employees, and the owner and founder, Justin James, this whole concept started when he was a kid, when he had dreams of designing shoes for Nike. But after learning some of the issues with conditions in the overseas factories and wages and the issues that go along with foreign mass production, he wanted to do something a little bit different than mass production, and he wanted to make his own sneakers here in the US. And over the years, as he started teaching himself more about shoes and construction, an opportunity came up to buy some machines that would allow him to open up basically a micro factory. And then in January of 2019, after searching for investors, they were able to purchase those machines and move them from LA all the way to North Carolina. And when they bought those machines, they didn't even have a place to put them. And 2 days after they were bought, Justin had to find another manufacturer in their hometown that had just enough space to lease them in a warehouse to set up a couple of those machines. And then over the next 8 months, Justin and his wife Amanda worked pretty much straight, setting up manufacturing machines, learning how to build shoes, and hired their first employee, a pre-fit tech. And then in November 1st of 2019, they launched their first small lineup, and they won the Garden and Gun Made in the South award, which sent a whole batch of new customers their way. And then over the next few years, they fought their way through COVID, hired some new employees, bought some more equipment, expanded their shoe offering, all while keeping their US manufacturing ethics, paying their employees well, and they've stayed in that same warehouse space that they started in just a few years ago. So when I say it's a small team and a small company making the best shoe that they can, that's what I mean. 5 employees, they've been around since 2019, still in that small warehouse space, all while making one of the best blazers, seemingly the best blazers that money can buy. So what is this shoe? Well, the brand is Opie Way. The style is the James Court High. They weigh 1 pound, 1.4 ounces. They retail for $498 and they're made in the United States. And the way they position this is the James Court sneaker was designed in-house to reference the classic court sneaker of the 70s. And the overall goal of Opie Way, in their words, is to inspire change in the way shoes are designed, made, worn, and loved. So the way that we're gonna review these is comparing the materials to the regular blazers by identifying each material, testing each, deciding which is better, and going over the price of each component of the Opie Ways. So starting with the uppers, Nike uses a mix of fake leather and real leather. It's chrome tanned, 1.5 millimeters thick, very little grain, has a really heavy top coating of plastic as seen by the burn test. And then comparing to the Opie Ways, they use all real leather, Italian calfskin that's chrome tanned, 2 millimeters thick, lots of grain, no plastic coating from the burn test, and it's dry milled. And you might be wondering, what is dry milled? Well, dry milling is also known as tumbling, and that's when you place hides of leather into big drums that are heated, kind of like a big clothing dryer, which gives the leather this really wrinkled and pebbled look, but more importantly, it makes the leather really soft and pliable while maintaining the majority of its strength and durability. And to see if that really is true and maintain some of its strength and durability, we put it on the puncture test with the lining and without the lining, and as you can see, pretty clearly it's stronger than the Nikes, but it's also thicker, but I think that's enough to show that it does maintain some of its stronger properties. So which one's more premium? Pretty clearly the Opie Way, it's better in every way. And what is the price of this leather? Well, it costs about $19 per pair for just the upper leather. But my favorite part of this whole sneaker design isn't the upper, it's these little patches that on the toe cap and on the little ollie patch on the outside here. And Nike's is 1.7 millimeters thick, it's just suede. The Opie Way is 2 millimeters thick and it's CF Stead Rough Out. And if you don't know what Rough Out compared to suede is, it's just the cross section of leather. At the very top, you have that smooth grain pattern that's associated with this really smooth texture. And then underneath you have suede. So a real suede is an inferior cut of leather that doesn't have that structural grain pattern, that's just all those loose fibers. It's not as strong because those fibers slowly work their way apart, versus a rough out leather has that structural grain holding all those loose fibers together, and that's why rough out is better than suede in basically every way. So which one's more premium? Opie Way. And the price is $2 for the toe cap, about $5 for this little heel patch. But that's not even the biggest difference to me, because the thing that drives me most insane about regular blazers is that fake leather that's rubbing on your skin, makes you really sweaty. And You compare that to the Opie Ways, and this is a fully lined vegetable tan leather. It's about 1 millimeter thick. It has a dedicated counter cover, and that counter cover is the same leather as the upper leather, just flipped so that that suede section that maintains that grain is on the outside. So you have about 3 millimeters of leather between you and the outside world with the Opie Ways, so you can see why it performs so much better in the puncture test. And honestly, this might be the softest lining I've ever felt. It is a crazy leather. I've never actually felt a lining like this. So which is more premium? Opie Ways. And what about the price? Well, the lining, like I said, it's a very nice lining and it costs $16 per pair. And the heel and the vamp reinforcement is about $1.25 per pair. So just materials alone, we're at $43 already. But what about what you're actually standing on? Well, if you look at the Nike insole, it's just a classic cheap open cell foam Nike insole versus the Opie Way. It's also an open cell foam, but it's topped with leather, which is a nice touch. And the lasting material on the Nike is just a really cheap non-woven material. Compare that to the Opie Ways, where you have 2 millimeters of pour-on under the insole, and underneath that is a woven material. So which one's more premium? Opie Ways again. And the Strobel sock is $2.40, and the lasting board is about $1. And then finally to the outsoles with the Nike, you've got this rubber outsole. It's a 55 short A, 5 millimeters thick, and it's a vulcanized construction. Versus the Opie Ways is a Margam cup sole that's sidewall stitched, also 55 short A. And we know the Margam outsoles are about 5 millimeters as well because we've cut apart Margams on several of the high-end sneakers. They're a very popular choice for these really high-end sneakers. It's either that or Lactate Havea with Crown Northampton, Goral, Common Projects. It's a very popular outsole for this quality of sneaker. But are they actually better? Well, we did the puncture test and they came in about the same. The Nike just barely edged the Margam out. And we did the bar drop and they're basically the same with just a little edge on the Opie Ways. So which is more premium? Well, the test results were really close, but the fact that the Opie Way uses a cup sole that's sidewall stitched, I think that's enough to say that the Margam is a better outsole on the Opie Ways. And at this point, Opie Way has won basically everything across the board, but the total is already at $70 without the other costs like labor, estimated at $90 to make this shoe in the United States, which is almost the price of the blazers alone. The other things we didn't cover, the laces are really nice laces. They're $2 a pair. The foam is about $2.50 a pair. Glue, thread, and packaging is about $5. So everything totaled up, just the cost to make this is $160. But that's just the cost of goods sold. That doesn't take into consideration the marketing, the R&D, the fixed expenses like rent, utilities, and all the other costs to run a business that are amortized across each product that is sold. And most importantly, that's just the break-even cost. Businesses have to make money and a profit on each product, and that's why there's markup in everything that you buy. And most brands need at least bare minimum a 2 times markup, but most markup is between 3 to 5, sometimes 6 if it's a really high markup. So with a 2x markup on just the materials, not counting the fixed expenses, this would be $320. With a 3x markup, it'd be $480, right around the price that it's sold for. But if you add up all the fixed expenses, I don't think this is that much more than a 2x markup. So how can Nike sell a shoe for $90 and Opie Way has to sell theirs for $500? Well, obviously different materials, but there's also this thing called economy of scale, which as a small leather business owner, we deal with this every single day. And if you don't know what that is, economy of scale is a cost reduction that occurs when companies increase productivity, the more units sold. And what that allows them to do is buy at higher quantities of the raw materials and everything they need, which can drop the price, all while their fixed expenses like administration and everything that we talked about are spread across a lot more units. So think Costco, but for shoe production. The more you buy, the cheaper it is per unit. So when you're a small 5-man team doing batch production and you compare that to the corporate giant, you can see how an economy of scale works in the favor of Nike and really works against these small brands like Opie Way. So now let's cut this thing in half, see what's on the inside, and finally decide, is this the perfect blazer? All right, we got them cut in half, and if you're not subscribed, consider just clicking that button because that one little free movement helps us afford to cut apart 2 pairs of boots and shoes every single week. So let's see what's inside. you can really see the quality difference between these two, especially in this heel area with the heel counter and all those layers and all that thick leather around your foot, especially that soft lining. So now, which is the better value? Well, if you're looking at this for dollars per wear, Nike wins, because you're not gonna get more than 5 times the amount of wear from a cheap blazer compared to the Opie Way. Even though you can get them resold, it's a tough argument to make that you can get more wears even with resoling out of the Opie Ways compared to the Nikes. So dollars per wear, you're probably better off buying 5 pairs of blazers. Which is better overall? Once again, a pretty easy answer. The Opie Way is better in every single way. Every single component is better by a substantial amount. Is this Opie Way worth 500 bucks? Well, it depends on what you value, because there's some real intangible differences between these shoes. With the Nikes, you're supporting foreign mass production, questionable wages, and most of the margins go to athletes and marketing, but you do get a much cheaper shoe that's easier to get and has more wears per dollar than the $500 pair. But looking at the Opie Ways, it's well-paid employees. You're supporting a small team of 5 people that are making shoes in the United States, higher quality materials. They're made a lot more finely, but you don't get that discount of economy of scale. It's more expensive, and you end up paying for those things like being made in the United States and fair wages. But the real crux of this is that even if Nike wanted to make Opie Way quality of sneakers, they couldn't, because they're stuck in such high quantities and they're stuck in that economy of scale. They couldn't make this sneaker. So overall, Opie Ways are just much better in basically every way, but they're also a lot more expensive. But I don't think that's the takeaway of this video, because to me, this is a really cool exercise in understanding the huge difference between small batch United States made goods compared to the foreign mass production of American owned companies. But is this the perfect blazer? Well, so far, this is by far the best blazer-ish blazer we've ever seen, especially compared to the Nikes. But there are a few things that I might change around for leather, obviously, because that's what I love. But overall, I think this blows every other blazer out of the water. But if you know of one that's built even better, let me know. Because I personally would like a true toe cap, some leather in the inside, and a true ollie patch. But that doesn't take away from this shoe. Not everybody's looking for their blazers to be built like boots. So let me know what you think of Opie Way and this video, where we're able to kind of dig into more of the business side of these things, because I find it really fun as a business owner making small batches of leather goods. So let me know what you guys think, and thank you guys so much for your support. It's the only way that we can continue to do this, cutting apart all these super expensive shoes every single week. So thank you guys. See ya.